Sarah Walker, and one of the pieces that she's written and performed on her debut CD. It's called Overflow. We're actually going to be hearing the title song before our time is over, but I want to talk to this gal from London. Sarah, come on in here. Wonderful to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm sure the meeting place is glad that you moved from London.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege to be a part of such a great community and people who are really wanting to live their faith out and be active and compassionate, and it's been a great place to grow and learn and lead, yeah.
11 years ago, what, 150 people in Oakville? Is that what it was?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, we all fit in Bruxy's backyard for barbecue in the summertime.
That's Pastor Bruxy
yeah,
Cavey.
Yeah.
And today, 6,000, is that right?
Well,
at the meeting house? I think I said the
growing.
meeting place, sorry.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay, yeah. Yeah, so we have, there's been pretty incredible growth, and I think people are just drawn to a message that Jesus takes everyone as we are, that we don't have to clean up before we come to him, but that his grace is so amazing that he doesn't leave us the way he found us, that his goal is to change us from the inside out and make us people who would shine as light to the world, so. Yeah.
Which you are in so many ways.
Oh,
I loved your statement that God doesn't ask us to give out of a dry well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Starts with you first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God's plan will flow from what he does in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a really awesome shift for me as a lifelong Christian. I grew up in the church to realize that I didn't have to perform my Christianity, that I didn't have to, put on a mask or pretend to be something that I wasn't. But
or
that
try
I could,
harder.
Yeah, exactly. But that I could come to God and say, I need you, and that he was more than waiting for me, meeting me more than halfway, as that scripture says in Psalms, and that his desire is to fill us up with his love to the point where it spills out over onto the world around us, that we don't have to manufacture it, we don't have to work it up for ourselves. His goal is to fill us up and to then move through us, so we don't have to do it on our own strength.
There it is. There's the simple reality of life in Christ.
Yeah.
And I love the purity of your voice, the clarity of the words, and this was as timely as the morning paper, all right? Poverty and justice are your heartbeat.
Yeah.
This is the Hamilton Spectator, and I see this: winning the street fight. For the first time, city agencies are considering eliminating emergency shelter beds due to a lack of demand, thanks to the success of innovating housing initiatives. Let me open this. This is the kind of good news you wish you could bump into every day.
Yeah.
Hope for Hamilton's homeless. City success at finding them housing has led to a drop in demand for shelter beds. Now, why do I connect this with you? Because I popped in your CD, I'm driving here, and I hear, our love is strong, our love is sweet, our love is Jesus in the street.
Yeah,
where the rubber hits the road, where we can change the culture,
Absolutely.
where we can impact our communities. That's what you're all about.
It is, and I have to say it's a process that God's worked into my heart of saying, as a worship leader, do these songs really mean something? And if they really mean something, it's about a lot more than the 15 or 20 minutes that you might spend on stage leading people. It's about how you live your life. And to me, as a worship leader, my greatest calling would be to lead people to live lives of compassion. So it's something that God's started to work out in my life, and I know it'll be a lifelong journey of figuring out what that looks like, but I'm trying to be really authentic in that, and that's part of why the record is what it is, and part of why we're giving 50% to support orphans and vulnerable children in Africa. So.
That is so wonderful. Did you hear that? She just said it so quickly and quietly. 50% of the proceeds from the sale of your CD are helping to put African children in school. I was going to say back in school. Most of them that you're going to be reaching never have been in school. Zimbabwe and South Africa particularly?
Yes, those are the countries I visited in 2008, November and December of 2008.
That was life-changing for you.
Absolutely. I think you can't look poverty in the face. You can't see the ravaging effects of AIDS on a country and not respond. You can't not do something about that. And one of the things that was most consistent in talking with both adults and children alike was that with the economic crisis that they're facing there and just the shutdown of so many systems, schools and hospitals and government organizations just shutting down, they felt that their children were being robbed of their futures because they weren't in school.
Yes, they're running around. They have nothing to do.
Yeah. And so what you see is children are still actually showing up at school because that's where the feeding programs happen through organizations like MCC or World Vision. So even though the schools weren't functioning, the kids were still showing up, desperate to learn something. We did a day where we had 600 kids that came out, and we were doing a fun day for these kids. And I was hanging out with some of the older kids, and I asked them, what do you want to do? They were kind of bored. They didn't want to play soccer. And they said, teach us something. Now, I don't know many 11 to 13-year-old boys who have a day off school here in Canada would say, teach me something when I ask them what they want to do. Yeah. And that was, I think, just again, evidence of they understand what it is that's missing and how education is empowerment. And we say knowledge is power, and there's truth in that, right? And so education is a way to empower these children to change their future, to change their community, to change the direction of their country. So
I just want to put one face to, there's so many children. But here's a little gal we met actually in Zambia in 2006. And she was a leader. She was a sparkler. And just over a year ago, my husband bumped into her in that same village of Makululu. And he said, Edith, what grade are you in? And she said, I'm not in school because my parents can't afford it. I'm sorry. But she had been in school and now was not. And I said to my husband, you just do whatever it takes to get that girl back in school. And she writes, thank you for all the works you are doing on me, because in my life I was not expecting to go to school, but God spoke to you. May the God of Israel be with you forever.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just
Profound.
These are the treasures that are just waiting for our response. And I'm what a generous gift you've made with this probably award-winning, award-nominated CD. 50%.
Well, God's been generous with me, and it was a journey for me to get to that point of saying I need to give 50%, and part of it was that verse that we know so well, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And in the process of deciding that I wanted to give this money away, that came to a very clear, well, that's half. If I'm going to love my neighbor as myself, I'm going to give them half. Wow. So even before making back the cost of the record, we're giving half of that money to Africa. And it's the purpose for me behind doing this, and it makes me excited to be putting this record out and sharing it with people. So
I want folks at home to know that this stellar gal has been very much noticed by Saddleback Church, Rick Warren's home base. Tell us about that.
I love those people. I've got to tell you, the folks at Saddleback have been so good to me. So a couple of years ago, I sent them down actually a title track, Overflow, having just written it, and it was fresh in our community. We'd shared it in the meeting house, and I thought, well, maybe they'd like this. They had a songwriting search on, and they chose it as the first track for their worship CD that year. And then last year again, they chose Broken, the song that we just performed, and put that as the first track again on their annual worship CD for their conference that they do every year. So
wow.
Quite an honor, and I've felt so encouraged by them. We all have those people in our lives that come alongside us. My producer, Nathan Finocchio, is another one who's just come alongside and encouraged me and empowered me to keep going and saying, God's with you in this. And it's been really exciting.
Is this the Meeting House Band?
It's a really eclectic mix, actually. I'm really privileged to work with some of the best in the industry.
They're good.
They are.
They're good.
They're amazing.
Before I ask about the song, that is the title that I think is inspired by Mother Teresa.
Yes.
Where is the CD available?
The CD is available on iTunes. You can go to sarahwalkermusic.com and purchase it there. And you can also go to your local Christian bookstore. And it's being distributed by David Cook. So if they don't have it, they can get it. David C. Cook, in fact. Pardon me, yes.
The one and
only.
The
one and only. So.
Well, this is wonderful. You want some great music and you want to bless children in Africa at the same time. I love how this works. This is the way of the future, but you've done it in a very big way.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to sing Overflow.
Yes.
I got to know the story.
Yes. So I was at a conference a few years ago listening to Tricia McCary Rhodes, and she was teaching.
Great
wonderful,
author.
Isn't she wonderful? Yeah. So she was
teaching.
The
Incredible Gain of the Crucified Life.
Yeah.
One of her great books.
She's a profound woman. And she was teaching, and she was sharing about her own depression that she had gone through, actually, and some of the ways that God spoke to her in that and brought her back out. And she shared about Mother Teresa, who had also suffered from depression. And she said one of the questions that was asked of Mother Teresa is, how do you do what you do every day? I mean, how do you have the strength and the energy to do what you do every day? And she responded with a question. And she said, have you seen with the eyes of your soul how Jesus looks at you with love? She said, I take the time to do that every single day. And out of the overflow of that love, that's how I live my life. And so obviously that deeply resonated with me. And it was, again, starting of that turn to just be more dependent and reliant on God and allow him to meet me in my brokenness and not in my perfection, and allow him to pour his love into me, fill me up, and then use me to affect the world. So, wow. Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
We're ready.
All right.
Sarah, go over there
Thank
and
you.
join that band. And as Sarah said, God doesn't ask us to give out of an empty well. His desire is to fill us with himself, and he overflows us.